Hello everybody, it's Shama here with the Infinite Center as always. I just wanted to talk real quick about the Moses, Manna, Ormus connection. And the Bible basically, like all books, can be taken literally, figuratively, and then there's a way where it bounces in between. But basically, if you look at what Moses when Moses left Egypt and was running from the Pharaoh, basically there was a fire burning. There was a pillar of smoke the whole time. And I'm not saying what this was or wasn't or anything, but there's I have a theory basically, or there's some connections that I've made basically with Moses and Ormus, and that's because as Moses was running from the Pharaoh, there was a fire burning the whole time. And with fire, you need, like with making Ormus, naturally, you would use sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide, which is leached out of ashes. It's leached out of all different kinds of ashes, basically. And then when he was doing that the entire time, getting up to the Red Sea. So then he gets to the Red Sea, and you need ocean water to make Ormus, basically, or salt from some kind of salt lake or something like that. So he gets to the Red Sea and begins to part the sea. Now, this is where it gets figurative. I'm not saying that it didn't literally happen too. That's possible too. But this is the figurative iteration of this. So when you make Ormus, basically, when you add the sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide to the salt water, what happens is it forms a precipitate of basically pre-matter, base minerals, pre-base minerals, even before they become minerals. And when you're making this stuff, it's parted. Basically, when you add the lye to the salt water, it becomes parted. It becomes two parts. Everybody thinks like horizontally, but this is vertical parting. If you're to look at a jar of ocean water, when you're making it into Ormus, it becomes two parts. You have a lower part, which is the Ormus part, and then the upper part, which is the water part. And then you wash that and wash it until you get just the Ormus, or Manna in this case, in the biblical sense. So Manna, there's a few attributes of this stuff. Basically, you can survive off of it. You can live off of just it, basically, and water. And also it has other effects. It puts you into this deep alpha state of awareness. And it's an extremely open state. But if your consciousness is very materialistic and material driven, it can be painful when you do this stuff, basically. So I think that's like the allegory to where when the parting of the sea crashed back down onto the Pharaoh's men, it was because the Pharaoh was taking the Ormus as well, and the Pharaoh's men were, and they either gave up or joined or ran away from Moses and his people, and they were able to pass freely. Now we'll go into the desert, where now the people were taken away from their, good food and fancy life that was in Egypt, and were brought into the desert where there was no food except for manna. And this manna, although you could survive off it and put you in this alpha state, it also is it doesn't taste good. It doesn't have any sort of flavor or anything at all. So you would get sick of it pretty quickly, especially if you had been used to good foods and stuff. So this is why the Israelites were complaining. Anyways, and then Moses goes up the mountain and to talk to God, and comes back down. And when he comes back down, he finds that the Israelites have been worshiping a golden calf and false idolization of the material world. So basically, he takes the golden calf and he burns it in the fire. It says that he burns it in the fire. Now there's chemical fire, and then there's also regular fire. I believe it's just allegorical to the chemical fire that takes place when you are breaking gold down into its single elemental particles, and even further breaking it down into beyond that, into its pre-matter form. Now, he took the golden calf, after he burnt it on the fire, it became a white powder, and he strewn it across the water, and he fed it to the Israelites, and they were able to see again. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. There's a lot more to this and stuff, so if anybody has any questions, feel free. I love you guys.